Today I've got 10 aquascaping tips and budget hacks that'll help you build an amazing planted tank for less. Make smart buying decisions and in the end, save that money for, you guessed it, more plants. So when it comes to picking the right tank, that's the first thing we're gonna look at. We're looking for tanks that are deeper than the standard tanks that you see a lot of places. The ones they call breeders are usually much deeper, and they come in a 40-gallon and a 60-gallon. And there are other wide tanks like a 75, but they can get quite tall. So it really depends on what you're looking for out of your design. But I recommend trying to find the deepest tank that you can, because that'll really give you the most look of depth. The 55-gallon and a 20-gallon or a 29 is much shorter, about 12 inches wide, where the 40 breeder and the 60 breeder, for example, are 18 inches deep. This is significant when you're trying to set up an aquascape and build multiple layers of depth to really make it look amazing. The next thing we're going to consider is the width of the tank. The 40 breeder and the 60 breeder are 36 and 48 inches wide. This is the sweet spot for lighting because you can get one light that fits the tank. You also have to consider the bigger the tank, more hardscape, more aquasoil, more plants. Now you have rimless tanks. They look gorgeous, those super clean edges, and they take great photos, especially ones with low iron glass. But sitting in this room with these two tanks next to each other, they both do look amazing. So that's something to consider if you really want that, because it's about 5 times the cost in the similar sizes. So for a beginner that may be on a budget, I would say go for the rim tank and save that money to spread out over the build, because there's a lot of other things we're going to need and things that you could buy and have for your career, filtration and stuff like that. So let's take the bigger picture in consideration, and maybe that is the right option. But don't get me wrong, I'm totally drooling over that 90p UNS rimless tank. Another option is this cube tank right here from UNS. This is a low iron glass. It looks beautiful. It has a lid solution, which is really nice because a lot of rimless tanks don't and they have to be open top. So if you want a tank and you have a fish that requires a lid, maybe this is a great option. With the all-in-one design, it has the filtration built into the back of it, so it is pretty cost-effective, this one. I did a whole video series on it. You can check it out right here. So the second one is protect the bottom. If you're a klutz like me, you may want to put something down there. I put a lighting diffuser, and this is great because you can pick it up at Home Depot, cut it to fit, and put it in the bottom of the tank, and you can't even see it once you fill it in. That right there will also help distribute the load, especially some big stone and stuff like that, and you'll never have a hard point pushing on the glass at one spot. This way, load the tank all the way across. For a rimless tank, what I would say is just put it in the back because you want it to be thin in the front. Give you at least some protection where you're going to put some stuff in the back like I did in my tank. My third tip is save your Aquasoil. It is expensive and you can stretch it. And this is how I did it. I used laundry bags and filled them with lava rock to build up areas where I wanted height in the tank. This avoided me having to buy bags and bags just to fill deep holes. You can use other things like other big stones or lava rock just poured in there, but what this does in the bag is it keeps it all in place so it won't move around over time. Make sure that you plant as heavy as possible. Roots will help keep the Aquasoil in place and stop it from stratifying over time and leveling off. And the other thing is you can use wood and you can use stone to build it up. And even in this aquascape right here in the cube tank, I use some gauze pads stuffed in the bottom to separate the two areas so to ensure that they'll never mix and try to stratify. My fourth one is the hardscape. When you're picking that out, you're better off with small to medium pieces rather than big, large anchor stones. Taking a few stones and making them look like one big one, or a few pieces of wood and making it look like a big tree, is going to be a lot easier, believe it or not, with a bunch of small pieces than it is going to be with 1 or 2 big ones. And you want as much as you can, so usually you can get some more diversity. So make sure that you have an abundance, and it's usually best, but you never know, you're going to need more later. My fifth one is called forced perspective, and that's using the big objects in the front and the small objects in the back to create depth. When you do this, that was like when you were in school and they taught you how to draw the stairs and it's on that sloped angle. That forced perspective will help give the tank depth. When I first built this tank, it was much better in perspective, but I love my plants and I'm always playing with stuff, and I've really held on to the scape longer than I should have. It really does need to come apart and be redone, and maybe that'll happen this year. But for the most part, It's overgrown, so you don't really see it as well. But the idea is that if we can put the big objects all the way to the front, like this, and they're towering, you also get these really good shadows in the front, and that really helps focus you in on an area and look for an endpoint that is higher than the front of the tank. Thin to win, as they say, so we want to keep it thin in the front and raise a slope to the back. So like my example of what not to do is you really need to keep your plants and fish in scale. While the fish are in scale, the plants really aren't. Number 6, leave the sides open. There's a few advantages to this. If you use pieces that aren't the same texture on both sides, when you see the reflection in the glass looking at it from the front, you'll see a whole different image and it'll look totally different like it continues on. So pick things with irregular sides and use them at the side of the tank and leave that area open there so you can have some water flow and circulation. Circulation is the most important thing in your tank, as it'll avoid dead spots and detritus buildup and keep that waste suspended so that the filter can take it up. Number 7 is let's get the gear out of the tank. Nobody pays a lot of money to stare at heaters and filters. So canister filters is probably where you're going to end up. The other thing that I did is I looked for a canister that the heater was built into the canister, so I don't have this heater mounted in the tank somewhere. The Aquasoil filter that I'm using has a built-in heater and a pre-filter, which is really nice because you could just pull that out, clean it, and you don't have to take the whole filter out and apart. So this way it puts off that big cleaning for a longer period of time. The heater being built into it got it out of the tank, so it handled a couple of things all in one. And they are a very good quality filter. And as long as you keep it clean, it's really quiet. And you can see where I show you how I set up my filter and how I clean it. When picking out a filter flow rate, you want to aim for about 7 times turnover flow rate, and this will ensure you have enough. Obviously, every tank is different. Your demand's going to be different. So you got to take in consideration your fish. Is that going to be too much or not enough flow? So see what's right for you. A few of the things that I use to keep my aquascape looking really good are I have a UV inline filter. I use Purigen to remove all the tannins to keep my water clear or no tint from any of the woods that I'm using in it. And if you do buy a filter that doesn't have a heater built in, they do sell inline heaters, which is a nice option so you don't have to put it in the tank. My 8th tip is backgrounds. Don't leave the background of the tank open. You want to put something up there. Black is great for depth. Blue really shows the fish. White, or frosted back, should I say, is really nice too. But the real game changer for me was putting a backlighting in. You can change the lighting in the back of the tank and really change the mood of it. And some tanks like this one I have here, I have lights and sounds. It does a thunderstorm with a stereo. It's really a great experience. It's fully immersive. So don't forget about that lighting game. Put it on the back of the tank too. It can really set the mood. We could talk all day about the golden ratio and rules of thirds and leading lines, but that's a whole nother video in itself. If you want to talk about that stuff, let me know and we'll make a video of it later. So now, number 9, we got to talk about some lighting. What are we going to put on it for lights? I would recommend a full spectrum light that is made for plants. It's going to be able to do that. A marine light, for example, isn't really going to grow plants very well, just like you wouldn't use a plant tank light on a reef tank. It's just designed for a certain spectrum. So get a proper spectrum light. And what a difference between just a white light and these full spectrum lights, it really makes the plants pop, like this Bucephalandra, and it really makes the fish look so much better too. And again, don't forget, play with that shadow. Raising that light off of the tank will give you a much different look than it being right on top of it, a wider broadcast, and also make some nice shadows in the front of the tank with these big stones. One thing to remember is the taller the tank, the higher the par. And that is basically the measurement of how strong the light is. So the more water it's got to travel through, the weaker the light is going to get. So those tall tanks like a 75 that may be deep, but it's really tall, just means you need a much more powerful light. Now, a lot of lights don't need to be up on 100% if you're not using CO2. So keep that in mind when you're looking at a light. What are your goals? And my 10th one is learn your water. What is your GH and KH? Learn what that is, and then you can pick the right fish and plants that'll thrive in your water, making it so much easier. While a lot will adapt over time, you will be able to pick out the ones that are absolutely going to do the best. And if you want more out of it, you want that soft water and you have hard water like me, do you want to do RODI water? I have a whole video series on that, and you can see that right here.